Happy Memorial Day. So I'm quickly checking in. I have 30 pages left of The Warrior Prophet. It has gotten very good, very, very good, and things are moving now as I would expect them to. Thank God. This vlog is mostly going to be where I read some of the SPFBO finalists from last year, which I've been meaning to do for a while. And I think that this is probably a great week for me to do it. Since I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed, I have 3 of the books on my Kindle, and I'm just going to knock them out while I recover. Hopefully love them. I might read a few of the submissions for this year's SPFBO 10, or SPFBox as they're calling it. I've watched a few of the videos and they actually sounded really interesting, some of them. So that's what's coming up in this vlog. And I just wanted to check in really quick before I begin the grilling and swimming. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic Memorial Day weekend and that you're reading great books. Talk to you soon.
Personally right now, I'm in a point of increasing my mileage. Not too worried about the speed, but I'm increasing my mileage. And right at the start of that.
Well, I finished the book last night. It took me about this, so I finished it yesterday, which was Monday. So just like an extra day. I think that this book went out with a bang. I was kind of struggling, as you know, if you watched the last vlog, I was struggling with this book a little bit. The pacing in this book felt a lot slower, a lot more stop and start. It would be very slow, and then something exciting would happen or a big reveal would happen, and then it would slow back down again. That was kind of an issue for me, where the first book, the pacing was perfect. Like, it started slow and then steadily ramped up until the end. I had higher expectations, I guess, for this. Although the characters in it were great, as always. It follows the same characters as you follow in the first book, and it just expands their stories. Their stories intersect more, and they have a role to play in the fruition of this prophet and his aims and his goals. The prophet knows, Kelhus knows, but he is playing them like fiddles, basically. Not in a bad way necessarily, but definitely he knows how to read them, and he knows how to kind of manipulate their beliefs into what he needs. So he definitely does that, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a little bit kind of on the morally gray side of things. I think particularly the women in this book, their roles in this prophet's life became much more important and apparent. The characters are great. The setting, this author is a master at creating a grimdark setting, at providing important details that really set the scene and situate you in this world in such a great way. I think that his prose is fantastic. It is definitely not beginner friendly. You really have to think and you really have to read with intention. And I love that in a book. I also think that, like I said, the pacing was a little off on this. The plot really kind of goes hand in hand with pacing because it was a lot of stopping and starting. Although I see its purpose, he really had to build these relationships and these political circumstances in such a way that it would make sense and play out in the way that he is aiming. So it makes sense and it works and I understand it. Did I love it? No, I didn't. I ended up, I think, giving this like a 3.5 stars, whereas the last book was a 5. It was a 5-star. Well, I'm sure I will continue in this series at some point because I want to know what's going to happen. I do. I really do want to know what's going to happen. The way that this book ended, it really builds that sense of intrigue. It asks certain questions that you really just want to know. It really commands your attention at the end. And I don't know. I was completely blown away. I loved it. I love the ending. The ending was great. It was everything that I hoped it would be. This book felt like a game of chess. Chess is a very strategic game. You don't think move to move. You need to think like 5 moves ahead in order to win the game. And this is what this book does. This is what Kelhus does. He is a chess player. It is a very complicated weaving of characters and magic, and it was really fun to see it unfold. Highly recommend this series. I do feel like this is kind of a middle book syndrome book in my perspective. I know that a lot of people really love this series, and I'm not shitting on it. It is great. It is so well thought out and thought-provoking, and he's a master storyteller, and his imagination is keen and insightful, and I gobbled it up. It has all the things I want in fantasy. A chosen one, it has religion and magic and dragons even, although they are not a big part of the story as of yet. But it has all of these things. I loved it. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 3 books that I chose from the SPFBO finalist from last year and give you just a quick little rundown of what they are about. Because even I don't really know. I just know that they were, I think in the final rounds or some of the ones that I really heard discussed by the judges or on the website. And so let's just go through here really quickly. Let me pull them up. We have Master of the Void. This is by Wend Raven. It has to do with a magical education at a university, and I think it follows 2 main characters, Darius Mendy and Ormond Leatis. And it says, from swashbuckling sea voyages and magical heists to unlikely friendships and budding romances, Master of the Void is a sweeping coming-of-age journey that follows a cast of misfit friends through times of heartbreak, fear, joy, laughter, failure, and triumph. It is classified as fantasy, adult, fiction, and magic. It's 585 pages long. Then we have Murder at Spindle Manor. This is book 1 in the Lamplight Murder Mysteries book. So this is classified as Gaslamp Fantasy, Metaphysical Fantasy, and Ghost Mysteries. It says, Huntress Isabella Argawal, the countryside inn, is the last stop in a deadly hunt. Armed with gas lamp and guns, she tracks an insidious beast that wears the skin of its victims, mimicking them perfectly. Someone has been killed. A hunt turns into a murder investigation. Now with 2 mysteries at her feet and more piling up, Isabeau must navigate a night filled with lies and deception in a world of seances and specters, mesmers and monsters. The unexpected is hiding around every corner, and every move may be her last. So that's Murder at Spindle Manor. And the other one I hope to get to is The Wickwire Watch, which is book 1 in the Riverfall Chronicles. This is also a gaslamp fantasy and dark fantasy horror. And this one says, it's the first and greatest rule Inkwell Featherfield ever learned. It's also the only way he knows how to survive, besides picking pockets, dodging the law, and using every ounce of his plucky charm. But none of this will be enough to save him now. If only he'd never snooped around a dead man's house. If only he'd never found that pocket watch full of strange magic. If only he'd known the old man had suffered at its hands of the ghostly specters, or that such dark spirits even existed, because now they are after him. Thrust into a world of arcane horrors, powerful politicians, and dangers on every side, the boy has no choice but to finally break his rule and decide who to trust. But with all the secrets, magic, and mystery thickening around him, and the stakes so much higher than he ever imagined, it might just be downright impossible. I think that sounds so good. It's 442 pages. So I started last night Master of the Void. I didn't get very much because I finished that book last night and then I started that one. So I think I read 20 pages, 15 pages. And it seems very easy to read and I hope to fly through it. That's that. Today and tomorrow, before I go and get my wisdom teeth removed, I don't know how I'm going to feel after that. I don't know how much I will read on that day. I probably will just come home and sleep, I imagine. But I will definitely have to probably take it easy, at least for a few days afterward. And so I will hope to really get a bunch of reading done in that time. Tomorrow I have to go to the grocery store and I need to get a bunch of like liquid diet stuff for that. I'm going to get like some green juice, probably some pudding or Greek yogurts, some soup. I'm really not looking forward to this. Anyway, so that's it for now. It's Tuesday. It's early. It's like 8:30 in the morning. I already ran this morning, just a quick little 30-minute easy run. I'm going to eat and then read, and I will update you as soon as I make more progress in the book and let you know how I like it. I have high hope for these books because I've heard really good things about them. That's it, I think. I will check back in with you when I have something to report. Bye! Giving very cozy fantasy vibes. And almost at the start feels reminiscent of Harry Potter. There are mages and they are separated and sorted by color which is determined by their magical powers. There are archmages who teach at the university, and one of them happens to see a star die. And so I believe this is where the void comes into play. I really haven't got very far. I'm on page 39, chapter 6, but I'm really enjoying it. I think that the character work is good. I like the way the author is interweaving the world building within dialogue and action instead of info dumping. I'm really enjoying it. It's very good so far. I just wanted to give you a little update. I'm about to stop and go heat up some dinner, and then I will get back to it. I really didn't get to read as much today as I planned on because I ended up filming and editing a video, which took a little bit longer than I expected. So anyway, I mean, it had to be done. I don't know how long it's going to take me to read this. I feel like it's a quick read, so I'm still hoping to get through all 3 books this week. We will see. Otherwise, I definitely want to get to Disquiet Gods by Christopher Rocchio like next week. Like that is high on my priority list. If you know me, you know that I love the Sun Eater series. It is the best. It's my favorite of all time. I have done reading vlogs on it. I have talked about it until I am blue in the face. This is your last reminder for me to freaking buy the Sun Eater series and read it. You will not be sorry. I think Christopher Rocchio needs to start paying me for my advertisements. I'm just kidding. I will pay him. I'll check back in later, probably tomorrow.
Side by side we sway there in all the colors. Summer love, lonesome dove, folded on the lawn chair in all the colors. Summer love, remember.
quick check-in. I did not read at all yesterday. After having my wisdom teeth taken out, I was just kind of out of it all day and had a headache and was just tired, and the thought of focusing on a book was, it's just not going to happen. So today's day 2. I'm feeling better, I think, this morning. It's still sore, but hopefully I'll have the bandwidth and the brain capacity to actually read something today while I'm still resting. So that's the plan. Although I do think I'm pivoting a little bit, and I know that's, it happens. That's not my ideal. But I decided to join a readathon. They're doing the Amazing Readathon. It is based on the Amazing Race, and there are 10 prompts that you choose your books based on. And so if you want to know more about that, I can link the creator's video down in the comments, or in the, you know what I'm saying. I'm not all here, okay? In the description box. But anyway, it takes place during the month of June. It is the 31st of May right now, so that's tomorrow. And I chose to be on the literary fiction team, basically because I watched Kara's Bookshelf.
I am on Team General Fiction, and I'm going to be co-hosting it with Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots. That is an alliteration that can be hard to say out loud. We are co-hosting Team General Fiction, and we are going to be reading a lot of general fiction. Well, that's the theme of the team. You don't technically have to read that certain book. So this entire readathon is based off of The Amazing Race, which is a competition based travel show. And the idea behind this readathon is that we're going to be visiting different cities. There's going to be 10 different cities throughout the month. Therefore, 10 different reading prompts, okay?
I watched her video. She's one of the hosts, and her energy is just amazing. And so, I've been meaning to read a little bit more literary fiction, and you can read outside of your genre for this, apparently. So anyway, that's the plan. That means trying to read a book every 3 days, and I hope that I am able to keep up with that. I don't know. We'll see. But so I will finish SPFBO book that I'm reading right now. Hopefully I'll finish it today or early tomorrow. And then I will switch gears and pick up some literary fiction based on these prompts. I am only 30% through A Master of the Void. And I really do like it, although it's labeled as adult, but I'm very much getting young adult vibes. It's written very young. The characters are young, and it is kind of dark academia, or not dark academia, but, wizarding school magic. So it's good, and there are 2 main characters, Darius and Ormond. One of the boys finds out that he does not have magic, and so he is basically shunned by his family and sets out on his own. And then the other boy discovers that he has some new unknown form of magic, and he is working with a archmage to discover more about that. And so it's pretty good. I'm definitely compelled to read it, to pick it up. I think that the world building, like I mentioned, is really good. It's all interweaved in the dialogue and the plot, so it's not very info dumpy, and it is a little slow at times. I wish it would just pick up the pace just a little. It's good. I don't have any real complaints so far. So that's the plan. Just wanted to update while I'm feeling okay and able to talk. I've just been sitting here watching a little bit of YouTube and sipping on some coffee. I will hope to update you later, and I hope to eat some solid foods today. So wish me luck. I'll talk to you soon. I'm back with an update. I'm trying to be happy and cheery. I can actually open my mouth wider, like an inch wider than I could yesterday. So that's freaking exciting. Okay, but so I decided to put down Master of the Void for the time being. I was finding it a little bit slow and I was having a little bit of issue with some of the writing style. My main complaints being that the main characters feel very similar, almost as if they are the same person. I think that it lacks some sensory detail in the writing, imagery and metaphor, similes, the senses. I want more of like what you smell and what you see, as well as like showing and telling. A lot of times the author is tending to tell us how the character is feeling instead of showing us with expressions and reactions, and which kind of pulls me out of the story. It's hard for me to feel invested in the characters and what's happening if I feel like I'm at an arm's distance from this character's life. Like I want to feel like I'm there with him and experiencing these things with them. And I'm not getting that. Although I do think that the magic system and the mystery of what exactly is happening is very compelling, and I want to know what's going to happen. So I do think I will continue with the story, but I'm just going to put it down for now while I take part in the Amazing Readathon, which I joined the literary fiction or general fiction team. And so for that, I've decided to pick up The Magician by Colm Toibin. This is a story about Thomas Mann, who is a German author and poet, I believe, and it takes place during the Great War, and it has a lot to do with patriotism and German literature and music. It talks about his dark and complex relationship with his homeland at the start of the Great Conflict, but within his own brilliant and troubled family. I started this last night and I got almost 50 pages in. I definitely, being that this is a literary fiction, it's going to be a lot slower and character driven, and I'm fine with that. Like, that's kind of what I've signed up for, and I have heard that this author's writing is really great. I hope that it is. This is, the readathon starts today, which is June 1st. This is the first prompt, and it's all points based, and you have a team, and there is it's based off the Amazing Race, which I may or may not have mentioned. So this is what I'm picking up, and I will definitely keep you posted. I am going to try to have to read this book in 3 days. So my nose is going to be stuck in this book today, and I hope to have a update later. Look at these for like highlighting lines on the book. Pretty excited for those. Looking pretty awesome. Okay, if I
talk funny, it's because my mouth is still swollen.
I am approaching the halfway point in The Magician. This book is very slow, but I expected that. Reads almost like a memoir. It tells of his life, basically, and his experiences, his sexuality, his family, extravagant and odd nature of his relationships with his family and friends and his country. It makes some keen observations on the state of Germany in the start during the Great War, and then right now they're getting into the era of Hitler, and he's just kind of coming into power, or they're acknowledging his sway within the culture in Germany at this time. Aesop just came in with a toy. But it also talks a lot about the rise and fall of literature within the arts and within his family, and the role that culture plays. I mean, his family, it seems, is very eccentric. They all have very different and odd ways of expression. And it's very odd, but it's told in this soft, subtle way, and it eases you, the reader, into this obtuse kind of strangeness that his entire family encompasses, and makes it almost seem natural and acceptable and normal. At first I was considering whether I was going to make it through this, but I'm finding that I'm really intrigued and invested in the outcome and what's going to become of these odd people. Yeah, I'm actually really liking it. I can see that I've been tabbing some things. I think that Colm Toibin is a great writer. He's very expressive, but in a subtle way. It's very all-encompassing and kind of languid and just flows like music or poetry. It's all very, I don't even know, colorful, I guess, in a very weird way. Like I said, I'm not quite at the halfway mark. I'm hoping to finish this today or early tomorrow so that I can move on to the next sightseeing prompt or the next prompt whenever that comes. This book is just over 400 pages. And I'm actually, once I got into it and got moving, like, it has kind of picked up the pace. I am excited and interested, and I think that the cover of this is just beautiful. Also, as far as the title, the magician is actually Thomas Mann, his character. For whatever reason, they call him the magician. I'm really not quite clear on that at this point. Maybe because of his writing. I don't know. That's where I am. That's the update. I've heard other people say that they love Toibin's writing, and so I don't know. This, I think, is one of his newer releases. It came out in 2021. So I don't know if people were referencing other of his books. Let me see. But he has quite a list of other titles. Some nonfiction, some fiction, some plays as well. So that's the update. I'm getting back to it. I'll talk to you in a bit. Hello, friends. I am here because I finished The Magician, and I wanted to wrap up this vlog with this book. This was the completion of the first prompt for the Amazing Readathon challenge that I am doing with a large group of other people, and it is based on prompts. I'm not going to get into all the details. I've mentioned it briefly before. I wanted to say that I was so wonderfully shocked and surprised at how suspenseful this book got once we passed about the halfway point, because it really delves into the Nazi occupation in Germany and the war and the role that Thomas Mann has in this conflict. It really is a great kind of introspective look at the whole idea of the Nazis in Germany from a German, from a man who has based a lot of his life around the culture and lifestyle of German people and German artists and writers and musicians and all these things. And so he has spent a lot of time doing these introspective looks into artists' lives because he writes about them. And so this conflict and this new Germany that he comes to despise really plays a huge role in his life. So and then at the same time, once they flee to America, it was so interesting to see his assertion of the lack of culture within America, the lack of substance, the lack of tradition, because of, in Europe, there's this long-standing essence of tradition and culture because of their long history. So at the start of the war, his family is in Sweden, and they were on a tour of some sort, and they almost get stuck. So ultimately, he becomes this proponent for the war because he definitely feels like America needs to step in and stop Hitler. And as he is kind of caught up in this political conflict between his homeland and his surrogate homeland. He has to try to navigate his way through the political aspects as well as the cultural aspects. And then let's just talk about his kids for a minute, because he has 6 children and every single one of them, except for maybe one, is a complete asshole. This is like a chronicle of his attitudes and ideologies, and largely that has to do with culture and politics, but also his struggle in his children, like watching them struggle to find themselves. It seems like they live off of their father's fame and fortune, and they never really accomplish anything. They just live this life of lavish luxury, drugs, sexual encounters, and all the while, asking mommy and daddy to bail them out and to fund their misadventures. And they really, at the end, they don't even see the error in their ways, and they end up blaming their father for being so wrapped up in his writing that they don't seem to feel connected to him. But really, it was their father's writing that allowed for them to live the lives that they lived, and they weren't complaining when that was happening. So that really irritated me. I was so surprised at how much I really enjoyed this book, because at the start it felt really kind of slow, and you go into a general fiction like this and you expect character-driven story and you expect some slowness, but this was really a lot more fast-paced than I expected, and I was happily surprised, because honestly, I flew through this. It was super easy to read. The character work is divine. Colm Toibin's writing is phenomenal. He just writes these scenes and these characters with such ease. It's like he's not even trying. Like, it just feels like it just rolls right off his tongue, and it was words that were always meant to be on the page. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. It really does chronicle his entire life from adolescence into right before his death, I believe. But it has given me and piqued my interest in Thomas Mann and maybe exploring some of his writing, because he did have quite a few bestsellers and hits according to this book. I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. There is supposed to be hopefully a new prompt dropped for this readathon within, maybe today or tomorrow. We're not really sure when. So I may pick up something small between now and then for some extra points. I really don't know what it's going to be. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. See what it is in the next vlog. Thanks for watching, guys.
These dogs.